We are feeling like prisoners of war as we await for more information on Twilight of the Republic. Welcome to the podcast where we discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith, and I'm here with Jrod and his Dudeness. In today's chapter, we will continue our exploration of the news from Gencon and talk about what's happening in the Set 2 meta. To start us off, Dudeness, what were your highlights from Gencon?
My highlights from Gencon. I personally had no highlights as I was not there. But
what were your highlights from the information we were given?
I just all the Set 3 stuff, right? Like, because I am super hyped for Set 3. I've done a complete 180 on my stance. After Set 1, I was like, don't give me Set 2. I need time to marinate with Set 1 before I see Set 2 stuff. But now I sort of don't care about Set 2, and I am all in on Set 3. It looks super hype. I love tokens. I love token strategies. I love that the tokens are 1/1 droids and 2/2 clones, and that feels perfectly thematic to me. I'm super hyped to play with all the Clone Wars dudes. I'm a huge droid army kind of guy, like Roger. I'm gonna be trying to do something with some separatist droid action, just to see how many droids I can get actually out on the field.
Damn clankers.
Before I exploit them all and bring in some huge mega Hellfire tank or something, I don't know, right? Like, there's got to be some super spicy exploit unit that we haven't seen yet beyond the two that we have seen so far.
I imagine we're going to get exploit in two ways. One is you're saying getting really cool units that come out with exploit. And I imagine we're also going to get some units, or just a guess at least, that will be like, if you exploit this, if like this unit is used to pay the exploit cost of something, just for some extra value.
Okay, yeah, like an exploit matters cards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I like that. That sounds like a cool draft synergy going on kind of thing, you know what I'm saying?
No, I know what you're saying. And this is like, I like token units from other games as well. I can agree with that. In Set 1, for those that are maybe new around here, they talked about how they statted certain units, and you kind of touched on this with the droids and clone troopers. Like a TIE fighter, an X-Wing can defeat 2 TIE fighters. That's why a TIE fighter is a 2/1 and an X-Wing is a 2/3. And then how two X-Wings would be needed to defeat 1 interceptor. And that's why the interceptor would come in and blow up an X-Wing, and then the other X-Wing would trade into it. And we're seeing that here, where it's like 2 droid tokens are needed to take out 1 clone trooper token.
Yeah, it feels perfect. And like they nailed that. Anything else, I think, would have felt weird in some way.
And I was thinking about this idea, and I was thinking like with the aspects even. And I'm glad that one's villainy, one's heroism. I really like that as well.
Yeah, I think that they did a great job with the tokens. I think with maybe Dudeness and I, we were talking about it like in a private thing or whatever, and we were playing or something. And just like, yeah, if they do clones and droids, like I think clones would be like 2/2s and droids would be like 1/1s. And we were like pretty on that pretty early on, which kind of just makes sense. I think if you make clones 3/3s, it gets a little too crazy just like in game mechanics, because then the unit will have to cost a lot and it won't be like playable. So this is going to be definitely an interesting set. And I think it's going to completely change how we play Star Wars Unlimited and how we think about it personally.
I certainly hope so, right? Like, these are like the 3 foundational sets, quote unquote, right? That's what everybody's been saying.
Yeah.
These 3 sets are kind of designed together to provide one unified sort of product after this first year. And hopefully, yeah, it does change it for the better. Because Set 2, it's been kind of boring, man.
I've heard that a lot from people, and I disagree with that. But I understand where they're coming from. I think my love for Set 2 is that I found a leader and a combination in Set 2 that's really like got me hyped to play it every time. Like I can just sit down and just jam games with that deck, and I love it every time. Where Set 1, I didn't really have that. Set 1, like I enjoyed playing Boba a little bit. Like he won me games, but I didn't enjoy playing him. Like I played him because he was like a good deck to play. And really there wasn't really a single Set 1 deck that I was like, oh, this is great. But the new spoiler, Blue Han 2, the Red Han, has just been phenomenal. So for me, I think it's more because I love the deck more than like Set 2. I do think that overall the power level of Set 2 is like significantly lower than Set 1. And I think it shows as well, and the fact that you can go buy a box on TCG Player for like MSRP or less, where like set 1 you couldn't basically after like 2 months. It was always more than that,
Yeah.
So
they kind of talked about some of their design philosophy, and I was really appreciative of getting this information. They talked about why they didn't do what is set 3 kind of the two main Star Wars. I think most people think Star Wars. Maybe newer people now might think the sequels, but really the original trilogy, which you always in a Star Wars game really start with that. And then the prequel era has also been very popular these days as well. Most people that were kind of grew up with the prequels are now in their 30s to 40s, so that's kind of a nostalgia thing. And so I thought, like, I was surprised originally they didn't do original trilogy and then prequels. And they mentioned how in both of those are like big military two-sided conflicts where you've got the kind of good guys and the bad guys. And they kind of mentioned how that might be a lot to have back to back. And they wanted to try in set 2 to do a conceptual set. And I appreciate them wanting to explore that and try it. I would echo both the Dudeness and Jrod about it maybe for me didn't hit the way I wanted to. But I also like how because they did this middle set, it allowed them some design space to add on to set 1 strategies. Like we got more Rebels and Imperials this set, which if you just went right into sequel era, you might have 1 or 2, but it wouldn't have been the same, I think, that you could have had with Shadows being able to add more to strategies.
That's
I
fair.
mean,
we might not have seen a card like Cassian Andor in set 3, but in set 2 he kind of makes sense. And that card is a straight
insane
banger, bro, dude. I love that card, especially with Han, as he was saying earlier, because it's very flexible. It's a 2-drop, it's a 3-drop, it's a 5-drop that smuggles out and is already 3/5 if you need it. Like, he's so versatile.
Love him. Probably one of my favorite cards from the set.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, for sure.
And like when Dudeness and I, who have very different and distinct play styles, can agree on a card being just really good, the card's probably really good because it's spanning like multiple like deck types, right? Like you're more of an aggro player, and I'm like mid range but lean more control in my stuff. So like to be able to have a card that just can do both, it's like maybe the card's too good, maybe it has too many options. You know what I mean? Like.
And like he's a card that easily could have been rare, right?
Yeah.
Like if there was a rarity tag on it, like would it have really surprised anybody, but it's uncommon, so that's cool for us.
Yeah, that's great.
I also think with set 3, with what we're seeing, it's also going to be, in my opinion, maybe a better draft format than from set 2. I don't mind the limited format of set 2, but I really like set 1's limited format. And I think with token units and with exploit, it's going to be a really fun draft environment, and coordinate too. Like just having a bunch of things, these big military battles, is going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, and as you were saying, the possibility of like an exploit matters card, like I'd maybe create a token each time you exploit. That seems pretty broken, right? But maybe
or like the there's the one unit we got spoiled that when this unit is defeated, create a token. So maybe if this unit is used to pay an exploit cost, do something, draw a card,
get a little extra benefit. Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's like the battle droid escort. So that when played and defeated, so that one technically has 2. So like you could technically play that and then play Asajj in the same turn and have a 1/1 and Asajj left over, which I think is pretty powerful.
Because the 1/1 separatist droid token, when it attacks, would trigger Asajj's +3/+0, I think it is, when she attacks. So that could be pretty strong.
But I will say, kind of like taking it back a minute, but you had mentioned how they were talking about what the sets were like trying to do and how they didn't want to go back to back like super militarized sets. I also think that like it has a little bit to do with like they understood that this set people were going to love and want a lot of, and it was going to be a banger, like just because of the IP of it being Clone Wars and it's such a popular era for Star Wars, that they probably understood that, hey, this is going to be at the end of the year when our financial reports for how good Swoo's going to do in year 1. So we want to end it with a bang, right? Like, and I think that's a very smart move by them, in my opinion, because I think it's going to hit. People are going to want a ton of this set. I know I'm already trying to get multiple cases from my local game stores. Like, so yeah, I know people who didn't get cases from set 1 and 2 and are wanting cases for set 3. So hopefully the supply issues have been somewhat alleviated. So that way everyone can get as much as they want, that would be lovely. But we'll see, of course.
Yeah. So if you're not like Hugo Damas and like Jrod, who can do that, it is a good thing, as you're mentioning, with the supply issues that they did do the set 3, because set 1 and 2 they were able to hopefully work on those supply issues, and then set 3 make it big. I agree with you there.
And they're probably printing set 3 like right now.
Probably close to
probably
done
printer right now, or it's very nearing their completion of the print run, with more than enough information to increase the size of said print run. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
FFG, I want a lot of this. Print more, please. Just print like a couple extra cases for me. Thanks.
Set 3, I think, will definitely do well, and a good way to end the year, as you're mentioning. It's also near Christmas time too, so reason we will be getting. I was
going to touch upon that it's right around the holidays too, so that could have some increased sales or whatever.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the reprint of Spark of Rebellion, which they talked about, would come out around holidays as well. How that will people be spending money on Spark of Rebellion? Will they be spending money on Twilight of the Republic? Like, where will that money go, or both?
That's a really good question, because I know I personally will not be spending much money on Spark of Rebellion, and will be spending all of it on Twilight of the Republic.
I will be spending almost $0 on Spark of Rebellion, and almost all on Twilight of the Republic as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have a set of Hyper Vaders, Hyper Bobas, Hyper Falcons. I have 2 out of 3 Lukes now, and I have a line and a third Luke that I might be getting. So, I have plenty of set 1, and I have basically every legendary I could want from set 2 for the most part. I was fortunate to not open up some of the less played ones that, like, as the collector side of me kind of still wants a set of them, just because I want to play a deck, or like hyperspace version to put in like Twin Suns or something like that. But I'm not stressing for set 1 or set 2 anymore. Set 3 I'm ready for. I'm super excited for it. I got my pennies saved up. Can't wait.
Hell yeah, brother.
Seto Kaiba over here. I want to go do this.
I actually want to circle back and talk about the 3 cards that were spoiled on FFG stream on Wednesday. And talk about those in a little more detail. Because there is a couple of them have new ways of generating some Battle Joy tokens that we might not have thought were coming. The first is Prisoner of War, which is a 4-cost yellow event that simply says a friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader, non-vehicle unit, and if that enemy unit costs less than the friendly unit that captured it, create 2 Battle Joy tokens. Now, it's important to note that this card is a single yellow aspect, so you can play this in your hero deck and generate some joy tokens, which is pretty cool.
I agree, and I think I thought it was interesting because the droid tokens are villainy aspect. Being able to, in your hero deck, have villainy units seemed very interesting to me. An interesting just first thought, because we don't have a ton of units that aspects matter for that, but Sabine would that villainy aspect would be helpful for Sabine, the unit.
Right, yeah, good. That's a very good point, actually.
Also, Ray.
A lot of cards that, like, Ray, another good point. You could be giving them shields, I guess.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Not that you can heal them because they only have 1 HP, but I mean,
but the idea is that if you can make droid tokens on hero side, we probably will have a way to make clone trooper tokens on villain side. In which case, then Kylo can be very good.
Yeah, I hope not. My clones aren't traitors. For the Republic.
This is another way too to activate coordinate, because you're dropping 2 extra tokens on the board, and that will activate whatever unit you have coordinate with, because that will trigger the 3 threshold, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
Don't tell Jrod about the upcoming set 7 card, Order 66.
Honestly, I'm curious whether or not we get that card this set.
Oh, well, okay, hold on. Let me be very clear. The clones don't turn on each other. That was what I meant. I don't care about the crappy little Jedi. It's more about the clones turning on other clones, because, you know what I mean? Like, that's...
Clones always stick together, right?
Yeah, they're brothers.
They coordinate.
Correct. See, he gets it.
And just actually, for those that maybe didn't pay attention to the Gen Con stream, they mentioned that this set, Pilot Republic, is going to mostly be focused on the Clone Wars. So that made me a little sad inside because Phantom Menace is my favorite movie. I am hoping they didn't troll us with the Darth Maul card that they gave us, with the art that clearly indicates that it is the Phantom Menace Darth Maul. And ultimately, I really want a Qui-Gon Jinn card.
I mean, they said that there'll be obviously some Revenge of the Sith and Phantom Menace, but it's mostly, Attack of the Clones or whatever in that whole Clone Wars. Because the whole series happens in between episodes 2 and 3, right? The animated series?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, there you go.
I want Qui-Gon Jinn.
But, so there's still hope, but I was really hoping for a Jar Jar leader this set.
No.
And I'm not beginning to doubt that might happen.
You'll see a Jar Jar leader if you see Gungan and like Jawas and like those kind of like other token-esque things like that. I feel like,
right?
Then you might see a Jar Jar leader or something.
That brings up a good point though about like the proliferation of tokens. Like one thing other games do is they sometimes will put out bird tokens or rhino tokens. An indiscrete game. We don't know which game I'm talking about, but they put out a variety of different tokens with different stat lines. And at some point, it gets too much for me. I hope that I'm not saying they can't make more tokens, but I hope that we don't have. I don't know. I wouldn't know if I'd want Ewok tokens that are 1/1s.
Maybe it's a 1/1 token with Saboteur instead, right? Or
I think there's space to explore for sure, but I just don't want a ton of that.
Interesting. I mean, I think that's potentially. I mean, making another unit is real good because obviously then edict effects get a lot worse. Like it's kind of nuts how good Power of the Dark Side is right now, and I'm very happy for that card to like lose its like. I mean, I was playing a game today with someone and like I was playing Green Vader and they were playing Kira Green, and I'm just like, man, I can't just like deploy Vader because I'm just gonna get powered out of this existence. So I had to like choose to not deploy Vader, and then I don't think they ended up having it or whatever because I was playing around it pretty well, but it was just like it changes. You have to play so suboptimally because of that card right now. We're like just having like a 1/1 out there. They're like, oh man, I can't play power. I'm just gonna resource it. Like that card's probably gonna get a lot worse moving forward if we see a lot more tokens.
Wait,
yeah,
Jrod,
and like
Jrod playing around Power of the Dark Side with his leader. Oh.
Right? He learns. The boy can learn.
They actually highlighted that on the stream too, talking about hey, there's gonna be a lot of tokens around Power of the Dark Side. Might not be as good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I want to clarify, I'm not against more tokens. I just don't want a ton of tokens with like a bajillion tokens. I want you to be able to go to your store with a relatively adequate number of tokens to play with the game.
I want a backpack for my tokens, okay?
I'm kind of with Jrod on this
one. I want all the tokens. Dudeness would be giving everyone like $1 per base. Like, hey, give me the hyperspaces so you can get all the because like I am gonna want some clone hyperspace tokens. So you know that
dude,
your boy's gonna be I will say I don't know if I touched on it last week. Sorry, Dudeness, to cut you off there, but I am super hyped because it's very likely Rex is gonna be a leader. He's in the main art, so that means he's likely gonna be a leader in the set. And a lot of the clones, like Jesse, are in red. And then Danny said there is a red heroic leader that is really good for control. And it changes how control is played. And I want that to be Rex. And I want a showcase of that. I will be the happiest boy in the world. Like, I don't know if you ever hear it in my voice. I am like, if it's not that, I will cry. I will cry if he's not that leader. I just want you to know that right now.
Damn.
That's all I'm saying. Make it happen.
Cry.
Have you seen a real man cry? You're about to.
So, Dudeness, we cut you off a couple times there. What were your thoughts?
No, I just wanted to segue into he brought him up, our boy Jesse, another way to create some Battle Droid tokens, right? He is a 3-cost red hero unit, 4/4, Republic clone trooper. Of course, he has raid 1. So he attacks for 5 for 3, which is a pretty big number. But when played, an opponent creates 2 Battle Droid tokens. So this is a card giving your opponent 2 Battle Droid tokens. And they did mention on the stream again that sometimes you might want your opponent to have some Battle Droid tokens. especially if you have a unit with ambush and overwhelm, perchance. You probably don't care about them having 1/1s, and that might be actually a boon to have some 1/1s on their side, right?
I'm guessing because they mentioned that Red Hero also has, or there's a board wipe in Hero that will hit multiple units, and I almost wonder if we'll get a chain reaction-esque type card, which that is a card from a different game that we won't mention, but it basically says for each unit that you have on board, deal 1 damage to each opposing unit. So they have like 5 units, and they're all 5/5s or less. It would deal 5 damage to every unit and wipe the board. So if you have a card like that with Jesse, you play Jesse, give him battle droids, and then wipe the board after. Could be a very great play to make.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how good this card is actually going to end up being, because I like the idea of it, but how useful are those droid tokens ultimately going to end up being for my opponent is a question that we don't know yet, or that we don't know the answer to yet.
It is one of those weird things in this game where because you can resource any card, like maybe this card is really good against other hero decks and really bad against, like it's tough because they'll have coordinate, I guess, activated, but maybe it's good against hero decks but bad against villainy decks because villainy decks might have inherent exploit cards, which you really are giving them. Like they could play a turn 3 Health Droid Hell Tank pretty easily.
Hellfire Tank.
I combined the 2 words that I was trying to say. Yes, Hellfire Tank pretty easily if you give them 2 droid tokens. So
true that.
I am interested to see like what's going to be. Is there going to be like a generic event which just like puts either droid or clone tokens into play, and how much will that event cost?
I'm automatically assuming we're getting a 3-cost villainy event. Don't know if it's just neutral villainy or if it'll be a double aspect. I have no idea, but it should say create 3 or 1/1 battle droid tokens, right?
Create 3. That seems like a lot compared to the
1/1 tokens. That's like
Battle Droid Escort. Battle Droid Escort already exists. 3 is a 1/1 that, when played and when defeated, creates a battle droid. So a 3 event seems way better than this.
Maybe not.
And they can't make a 2-cost one that makes 2 solely for the reason of Asajj, because she just comes out turn 1.
Yes. But it's 2 cards. 2 cards that come.
I'm just pulling from knowledge from other games with token generators, and a 3-cost for 3 1/1s has been a pretty standard rate across multiple games, and I fully expect it here. At 4 costs, I'm not even sure it's good. It's kind of the point.
Oh, you know who I just realized really likes all these tokens as a leader?
Our boy IG88, dude. Is that what you're gonna say?
I was not gonna say that guy. For sure wasn't saying that guy.
Because IG88 does love all these guys.
He loves the droids, yes. So, because then obviously it's easier to turn him on. Giggity. No, I was talking about Palpatine. Palpatine is like, oh, you give me tokens? Thank you. I'm going to sacrifice it and deal damage to you and draw cards.
That's fair.
Might be time to get a Palpy showcase. Who knows?
One thing Dudeness to say, though, if it does cost 4, you'd play it on turn 3. Like in other games, you would play on turn 3 a card
that's
that
true.
makes 3.
That's true. That's true.
So I can see, though, a 3-cost card that makes 2 clone troopers, maybe. Maybe not. That maybe it's too good with Rex. Maybe that's too cheap because Rex does that same thing.
3/2/2 seems.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see what they do. Maybe we shouldn't speculate too much because there is one other card we were going to talk about that was spoiled, which is General's Blade. 3-cost command upgrade. That is an item weapon lightsaber that gives +3/+3. You attach to a non-vehicle unit. If attached unit is a Jedi, it gains on attack. The next unit you play this phase costs 2 less. What are your guys' thoughts of General's Blade?
I think it's cool that it's very specifically calling out Jedi and not just Force.
True.
Which means that's the first time we've seen that. So, maybe we'll see a couple more Jedi Matters cards, ?
And notably, this can go with General Krell, who is not a heroic card, but is in command and is a Jedi. Notably.
Yes, General's Blade is just command. so it's not heroic or villainy, which is a thing to note.
So it's like it's kind of weird that it's a neutral card, but it's kind of more slanted towards heroic decks because they're going to be the ones more likely to have Jedi. But as you just said, sometimes a Jedi can be neutral, such as General Krell, although
he wasn't neutral to backstabber.
So I mean, but it's cool. It's a 3/3 for 3, which like the other lightsabers, Fallen lightsaber and Jedi's lightsaber, they both see some play, right? Or 3/3 for 3 is good, and being able to just either play a 2-drop for free, or play something else bigger at a discount doesn't seem the worst.
Or maybe multiple discounts, because it does say on attack. So if you have a way to attack multiple times, you could trigger that more than once.
Yeah, shout out to my boy Justin from Bucketheads. He's a big fan of this card. Frontline Shuttle says hi.
Okay.
Getting to attack with a unit. Next one costs 2 less. Then Frontline Shuttle sacrifice. Attack with the same unit again, hitting a unit. And then you get a 4 less. Hey, here's this 3 cost. What's the big ship from set 1 in green? Hero.
Oh,
no, Hero. Home one. It's like a 3 cost home 1, right? Oh, sorry. It's a 4 cost home 1. Oh man, it's a 4 cost home 1. Hopefully you can pay that much. I don't know.
Or hear me out. You attack with the unit. You play the Frontline Shuttle for free.
True.
Attack with it again, and then play another 2-drop for free.
Mm-hmm.
And you just took out 2 units on the board, and I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of spitballing, but
Mace Windu also likes this card.
No, he does like this card, but it's hard to equip a 7-cost unit.
But he likes the card.
Yeah, my
don't
issue
have enough resources to like also equip it, and then your opponent generally deals with your Mace Windu after you play him.
I think the only way this would work well with Mace Windu is if we get a card that says, when a unit enters the battlefield, you may attach an equipment from another unit onto that unit, right? Because then Mace could enter in, get the saber, and then ambush with it, and then ready up again. That would be, in my opinion, the only way that Mace can really combo well with this card. Because typically with Mace, I've been playing a lot of him recently because he's in my Han list. He typically just comes in, kills one thing off rip readies, and then will typically die after that.
Yeah. So, that sounds about right with my experience with Mace as well.
Still really good. Just don't get me wrong. It's still insane.
Yeah, they have to do something to kill him off after he kills something at readies, right? Or else you get that 5, and when you get the 5, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I think we had some good discussion on these 3 cards. I just wanted to circle back very quickly to Prisoner of War. And one thing that I was thinking about with it, I thought originally, this is a really good card because it can capture across arena. And while it can, it is notable that we've only had vehicles so far in space, and I imagine we will continue only having vehicles in space.
No, we need the big, not the elephants, the big whales in space.
So if we keep getting vehicles in space, it will not allow you to capture space units. Space units can capture ground units, not in vehicle space units. But it's just something to remember. This card may seem like you can do cross arena, and it kind of can, but it kind of can't.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. But it's kind of a good flavor, though, too, because it's a prisoner of war. Yes. You're capturing, somebody. You're not just, capturing a vehicle or whatever, right? So
I have full faith, pun intended, for my guy Tyler, who clearly always listens to every second of Outmaneuver podcast, right? He's going to put in what's it called? The whale quality or whatever it is. I forget what they're called. The whales that fly in space that can go in light speed.
I have no idea, honestly.
Clearly you haven't seen Rebels or the new Ahsoka show. But
speaking of the whales that are in space that are not currently in Star Wars Unlimited, if you see your opponent try to play one, what you would do is you would call over a judge. And we now have more information on the judge program, which Jrod will definitely share with us.
Before I dive into that, can we just give my man a clap for that great segue right there? Just 10 out of 10 segue. I'm just gonna
my guy.
Just gonna
incredible, absolutely brilliant.
Professional podcaster now. We're in episode what, like 29, I think this is, because we skipped last week, so we're not at 30, which it would have been. But yeah, great segue. Okay. So, yep, they announced the Judge program for Star Wars Unlimited. It is being run by Cascade Games. There is a Discord to join if you're interested, and some links. That is on the Star Wars Unlimited website, so please go check that out. I'm pretty hyped that they did it this way, because with their tournament software and how not great that was, I was a little afraid of them trying to also run the Judge program, because it's a lot. It's a lot to have to run all that. So the fact that they understood and really were like, we need to make sure we have people who have done this in the past and know what they're doing. And so giving it off to Cascade Games, if you don't know who it is, they've been around TCG space for years. I've played in like multiple events of theirs through multiple games. It's always done well. They really have a good grasp on what people want and what, I'm really happy with their decision to move on from to allow Cascade to take charge of that, and super excited. I'm in the Discord. I don't know if I'm going to fully dive into being a judge. I might do like the basics just so I have some fundamental understandings. And for anyone here considering it, I would say even if you're like a competitive player like me and want to play more than judge, it's still good to know the rules so you don't get messed up on a rule, and staying up to date on those rules can sometimes win you a game if you know it and your opponent doesn't. So I always try to at least make sure I'm up to date on a lot of the rulings on how cards interact and whatnot. Even if you're not interested in specifically judging events, at least joining to have discussions about rulings is important if you want to be a high-level competitive player.
Makes sense to me.
So I want to now invite anyone who's interested, if you have a question and you'd like us to talk about it on this podcast, to go check out our Discord, El Maneuver. And on that, you'll find a channel for our mailbag. And so please do submit your mailbag question. We have a great question.
Wait, hold on, Faith. Wait, hold on. Where do they go? Where would they find this Discord?
In the description of this video, you can find a link to the Discord. So please join. And when you do, check out that channel for mailbag questions, and you can have your question answered just like this one from Marauder Mo. What do each of you think is the most thematic card in the game? By thematic, I mean the artwork, the title, and the gameplay all come together to really feel like you're playing in the Star Wars universe.
Now, okay, so I'm going to answer first, because I'm going to pick the most obvious one, but I still think it's the best.
You better not talk mine. Better not pick mine.
But not say mine.
It's still the most bestest, obvious, thematically bestest. The card in question, though, I Am Your Father.
Oh,
that was not mine.
That was not mine, but that one's really good.
This just the fact that it says, "Hey, do a thing," unless this controller says no, then do this other thing. It just invokes. You want to just scream out. I know when we very first started playing, the urge to just scream out no in response to this card was very, very large. It invokes the Star Wars feeling. I know this is what I remember watching a bunch of interviews for the very first Gencon last year, kind of them asking the same question to the designers, and a lot of them would pick this or at least Jeremy would pick this as his answer almost every time, and I still agree with it. They nailed it. It's fun. The artwork is great. This was definitely like my easy, obvious choice when he asked the question.
Okay. I'm up next?
Yeah.
All right. I'm definitely going to steal Faith's right now, just FYI, because this is clearly, like, Dudeness had a great one, but this is number one. There's no other option here. This has got to be it. It's Frozen in Carbonite. Like, it's got to be Frozen in Carbonite. I'm sorry. It's got to be.
Okay.
Good. So I'll pick an honorable mention, which is, as they've talked about before, so it's not one card, that's why it's an honorable mention, but Tyler mentioned, I think, this most recently in a lot of the streams, where they do talk about I Am Your Father. They also talk about the combination between R2-D2 and C-3PO. Very good. They talk about like how when you see one of them, you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Like for C-3PO, it's never never tell me the odds kind of thing. And for R2-D2, it's getting that information. And when you see them together, how great they work together. But my answer is going to be, I think Tyler mentioned this again, on the stream where they revealed it, would be For a Cause I Believe In.
Mm.
The art, I think, it's like that scene from when he says that. And they talked about, like, with the flavor text, not having flavor text on cards and using titles or subtitles as a way to invoke that flavor. And this, to me, is very reminiscent of that. And then as well, like when you're banding together, because the card reveals 4 cards on top of your deck, and for each heroic one, it deals more damage. So the more people you can rally together for the cause that you believe in of dealing damage to them, you can do something special. So
and that I just want to say, and that's truly a cause that we can all believe in.
Yes.
No.
Most damage to your
Forget aggro. Ew. 30 aggro player.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. Let us know in the comments below which card that you are most excited for from Twilight of the Republic, and which card you think is most thematic so far in Star Wars Unlimited.
And let us know why it's Rex.
All right, see you guys next time. Bye.
Yep, cheers.
Later.